Hi, I'm Stanley Bentu from First Wave TV, and this is Nuts and Bolts. It is political season in Nigeria again, and as my late father, Professor L.T. Bentu, expressed in a painting that he did way back in 1991, the politicians are at it again. Now, if the current electioneering hasn't brought you to tears or infuriated you yet, then at the very least, it's probably making you laugh. One of the features of presidential campaigns has been the debates that accompany them. Recently, these debates kicked off with a presidential town hall series organized by Arise News and the Center for Democracy and Development. But the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, and the standard bearer of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, failed to show up. Atiku was said to have informed the organizers that he had just returned from a trip abroad and would join the dialogue at a later date. He was represented by his running mate, Ifeanyi Okowa, while Tinubu also promised to join the series in the future. But the audience became uncontrollable when the program was about to begin, with protesters chanting that it was meant for presidential candidates and not for their running mates. But Atiku insisted that the ticket is won.
We want president candidates.
The candidates who attended the event were Peter Obi of the Labour Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party, and Kola Abiola of the People's Redemption Party, who was a later replacement for the APC. The candidates were selected based on the performance of their parties in an online survey by the organizers. As we approach the 2023 general election, there has been an increasing demand for debates among candidates, particularly on social media. No doubt, over the next 3 months, various organizations will continue to host the leading candidates in different town halls and debate-style events. Let's take a quick look at the United States, from whom we adopted many rules of our presidential system. There are no laws in that country that expressly compel candidates to participate in debates, but it is almost unfathomable for a serious candidate to miss out on one. This is because in that culture, debates can have a major impact on the outcome of the elections. First, ponder this a bit. In 1960, a sweaty and nervous-looking, makeup-free Richard Nixon squared off against a youthful and energetic-looking John F. Kennedy in the first nationally televised presidential debate. Now, historians generally agree that this televised appearance had a profound effect on the results of the election.
Having the federal government pay teacher salaries was probably the very reason that concerned Senator Kennedy when in January of this year, in his kickoff press conference, he said that he favored aid for school construction, but at that time did not feel that there should be aid for teacher salaries. At least that's the way I read his remarks. Now, why should there be any question about the federal government aiding teacher salaries? Why did Senator Kennedy take that position then? Why do I take it now? We both took it then, and I take it now for this reason. We want higher teacher salaries.
I do not believe the federal government should pay directly teacher salaries, but that was not the issue before the Senate in February. The issue before the Senate was that the money would be given to the state. The state then could determine whether the money would be spent for school construction or teacher salaries. On that question, the Vice President and I disagreed. I voted in favor of that proposal and supported it strongly because I think that that provided assistance to our teachers for their salaries without any chance of federal control. And it is on that vote that Mr. Nixon and I disagreed, and his tie vote his breaking the tie defeated the proposal. I don't want the federal government paying teachers' salaries directly, but if the money will go to the states, and the states can then determine whether it shall go for school construction or for teachers' salaries, in my opinion, you protect the local authority over the school board and the school committee. And therefore, I think that was a sound proposal, and that is why I supported it, and I regret that it did not pass.
So a little bit of background on this interesting debate. Nixon had injured his knee on the campaign trail. So he had been in the hospital for about 2 weeks before the debate. He'd lost weight, he wasn't feeling well. You can actually see in the debate, he's kind of favoring one knee. Kennedy, on the other hand, was tan, he was young, he had been like prepping with his aides all weekend. He was real relaxed for the debate. So the debate comes. Everyone who watched the debate was sure that Kennedy won. And everyone who listened to the debate was sure that Nixon won. It was the first time in US history where a presidential debate caused a huge discrepancy in the votes and what people thought happened. So this is incredible, right? That you think that how could everyone listen? They heard something totally different than what the people in the televised audience heard, which is really what they saw. Now, that ended up costing Nixon the election. John F. Kennedy won, and in Nixon's memoir, he said that he believed it was that debate, his body language in that debate, that cost him the election.
Nixon not only lost that debate, he lost the presidency. Now, sometimes a candidate says it worst when he says nothing at all. Let's go back to 1992 as the Democratic candidate Bill Clinton talked with an audience member during the country's first town hall debate that year. Cameras caught the then President George H.W. Bush checking his watch.
We have a question right here.
Yes, how has the national debt personally affected each of your lives? And if it hasn't, how can you honestly find a cure for the economic problems of the common people if you have no experience in what's ailing them?
So while Bill Clinton is doing his I feel your pain routine, George Bush is caught in the background looking at his watch, and he doesn't just glance at his watch. He does it like he's in a theater production and trying to make sure they see it in the last row. And it just accentuated this pre-existing narrative that George W. Bush was just kind of not in the moment, wanted to get through this thing, didn't care, and he got killed by the cutaway.
Now, what seemed like a fleeting moment turned out to be a huge deal. Bush showed himself out to be out of touch with ordinary Americans. That simple gesture became freighted with deeper meaning, and many say that it played a big role in him losing the elections. So it's clear that that country doesn't need laws to make candidates show up for debates. The values and attitudes of the people and how they would react already does that quite effectively. But what about here in Nigeria? And despite the fact that since 2015, more and more people feel that it's important, Nigeria's debate culture still remains in its infancy compared to more advanced democracies. And there are reasons for this. The Electoral Amendment Act, which was passed into law recently, missed a chance to codify debates as an integral part of the electioneering process. That failure means that debates remain subject to the whims of the candidates. Had it been codified, it probably would have helped this vital democratic practice grow. To begin with, you have to ask, how seriously did the Nigerian political elite take the electorate? Does the lack of consequence for snobbing a debate make a top politician complacent? At the town hall meeting I mentioned earlier, while the candidates from the other political parties sparred with each other, Bola Tinubu attended another event to celebrate the birthday of another member of the elite, Sani Bello. Now, his campaign team did attempt to spin this, but the move fell flat and ultimately had the undesired effect of feeding the rumors about his health and cognitive abilities. In the end, it boils down to political incentives. In reality, presidential debates and publicly televised town hall meetings have historically had little effect on voter decision-making and electoral outcomes. In 1993, nearly 30 years ago, MKO Abiola of the Social Democratic Party participated in the presidential debate alongside Bashir Tofa of the National Republican Convention.
Well, you see, essentially the problem of this country is economic and lack of good planning. I wish you had allowed me, to complete my thesis about how you wanted me to put this economy right. I just started and you stopped me. However, with regards to that, I think it's an issue of education and how you structure it, and also a matter of defining your national objectives with regards to technology. When you take education itself, we have to plan education in a way that we want to develop. We have to plan education that way, otherwise we shall be planning for nothing.
Children in Nigeria lost 3 months from the classroom. They don't even know what the classroom look like anymore. It's serious. Teachers are on strike, they're not on strike, there's some problems here and there. And see, we must take politics out of education and education out of politics. Education is our future. If you say that you really must look at the percentages and so on before you can fund education, well, it's expensive, but how less expensive is ignorance? So there's a fundamental position there.
This proved to be the last time that all candidates who had a mathematical chance of winning were present for the same debate. Tinubu's failure to show up at the town hall was no surprise. The APC's explanation is a familiar road that Nigerians have been on, and naturally, many have drawn similarities between President Muhammadu Buhari's refusal to honor debate invites both in 2014 to 2015 and in 2018-2019. History shows that the winners of presidential elections since 1999 have skipped one or more key debates. The thinking is that frontrunners have more to lose due to the likelihood of having a less than satisfactory performance, which will also give their opponents ammunition to attack them. In 1999, Olusegun Obasanjo did not attend any debates. In 2003, there was no debate. During the problematic 2007 cycle, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua did not participate. In 2011, Goodluck Jonathan attended just one of 2 debates, and that was one that was organized specially for him. First, he refused to attend the debate in which his major challengers, including Muhammadu Buhari, were all present. Then, in a reversal of fortune, he stood all by himself in another debate that was boycotted by the other contestants with the explanation that it was organized to unduly favor him.
Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan has taken part in a solo debate on state television ahead of national elections. Jonathan stood next to 3 empty podiums bearing the names of his rivals for the presidency. The opposition candidates had refused to take part after the president snubbed an earlier TV debate.
This debate or this presentation is all about having confidence again in governance and in politicians, more in fact on politicians. We in the CPC have decided that the important issues to be discussed at our present situation is firstly the security of the nation state itself.
I am here contesting for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria because, like all of you, I believe there is a need for change. Time of change has come. And this event indeed proved that time of change is here and we need it.
My party, the All Nigeria People's Party, has 5 major focal areas, which is summarized as FEND. The F stands for freedom, E stands for equity, and N stands for nationality, D for development, and S for security.
Muhammadu Buhari totally refused to participate in any debates in 2015 and 2019, and here we are. From the perspective of the political elite in the 2 major political parties, if the strategy of avoiding debates worked for an incumbent who went on to win 2 terms and almost all of his predecessors, then there is no significant political consequence for skipping a debate. The truth is, we do not have any evidence that shows how debates impact the chances of candidates who attend them. So, we took our cameras out to feel the pulse of Nigerians as to whether or not debates matter to the choices that they make on election day.
Yes, yes. Because if you look at them all, what the whole people are saying, because I don't want to mention, it's the same line they are, and the same thing they are still talking.
Sometimes some of them don't show up because they don't want what the public always says. Because the public determines, most times if you see this election debate, most people that come on it, they come to prove themselves, like they are credible for that same, But at the end of the day, they talk, all talk and nothing to deliver. They hardly deliver.
Yeah, it does. Election debate is actually supposed to influence the choice of a candidate, not just for me, but for everyone. This is where we get to see who exactly is coming in to rule, to lead us, who is coming in to take over the helms of affairs of the nation and all of that. So we don't expect us not to have people who come out there, debate, and tell us what they have, what are their plans for the people and the future of the country as a whole. So it's very, very important.
Well, it's relative because most of the debate does not translate to their actions when they are voted into power. So I think, to me, election and debate is not just the in thing. None can be trusted.
We also sought to know how they felt about candidates skipping debates and if laws should be made to force them to debate. And here is what they said.
Basically, it's not supposed to be a law thing. It's supposed to be a voluntary, a compulsive thing. You want to serve the people. You are duty bound to come to the people. You don't need a law for such thing. You are duty bound to reach out for them to know, yes, this is the man that wants to govern us. For them to have your feel, at least your mental feeling, your intelligent quotient, and what have you.
As it stands, I don't think there's a need for that. Whether there's a law or there's no law. Like I said, if you come out to do the debate, you are not doing yourself, you're not doing anybody any favor. You're doing yourself that favor. It's not, it doesn't have, there's no need for us to say, we need a law, we don't need a law. When people are ready, when we have people who are ready to come out and say, look, this is what we have, and you are chickening out, you're doing yourself, not anybody.
I think the law that it should even be in place is the person should not be more than 50. Yes. It should not be a recycled thing. Yes, the same caliber of people over and over and over again. From one old person to the next old one. We are just going into, I don't know, what do I even explain? How do I even explain it? But at least if the person is young and vibrant, now, something good will come out. He will have like the interest of the youth. He should know what's on ground. He knows what's up.
Now, despite the fact that since 2015, more and more people feel that it's very important, Nigeria's debate culture remains in its infancy compared to those of advanced democracies. And there's a reason for this. Now, clearly, there are more voters that want candidates to appear at debates so that they can lay out their plans and proposals for governance. And this may just be the best and only way to hold candidates responsible for their promises because the nature of campaigning in Nigeria does not provide for a lot of direct interaction with the candidates who often choose to communicate through their surrogates and proxies. And this allows them to deny ownership of what was said or what was promised. Our candidates also prefer to attend raucous rallies that look more like colorful carnivals rather than policy-driven platforms. And at these carnivals, they love to sing and dance rather than to speak about their plans and policies. But what are debates really about anyway? Well, the true objective of debates were spelt out by George Friedman, who is a Hungarian-born United States geopolitical forecaster, an author, and a strategist of international affairs. Now, he's the founder and the chairman of the Geopolitical Futures, which is an online publication that analyzes and forecasts a course of global events. According to him, a debate is not about policy. Now, it's impossible to state a coherent policy on any complex matter in 90 seconds. It should be remembered that prior to the Kennedy-Nixon race in 1960s, there were no debates. Partly because there was no television, and partly perhaps because the ability to debate was not seen as the appropriate measure of a president. Debates essentially test one thing: the ability to quickly respond to questions of numbing complexity that are impossible to answer in the time available. They put a premium on being fast and clever, but don't say much about how smart a candidate is. Nor are they meant to, in part because being smart in an academic sense is not essential to be president, as many have demonstrated. At their best, debates test a candidate's coolness under pressure and ability to articulate some thought, at least vaguely connected to the question, while convincing the viewers that he or she is both personable and serious. That is, after all, what leadership is all about, isn't it? Now, we've had enormously intelligent presidents who simply couldn't lead. Presidents can have substantial intellect, but when confronted by a certain disaster, he or she may not be able to have a commanding, reassuring presence in the public. In that sense, intellect has betrayed you. You may want the right answer, but what is needed is the fast one. United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's famous 100 days did not solve the Great Depression, but they did give a sense that someone was in charge. Now, both FDR and Ronald Reagan could reassure the country that they knew what they were doing while they were actually rapidly trying things that might or might not work. Therefore, the question of who won a debate is not one that a viewer who spends his time focused on policy can truly answer. Nor can we possibly extract from the debate what any candidate intends to do in any significant detail that allows for objective assessment. Because conveying that is not what a debate can do. At best, at a debate, the candidates can only try to show how quickly and effectively that they can respond to the unexpected, and that they are leaders in the simplest sense of being both likable and commanding, which is the incredibly difficult combination that the nation demands of its presidents. If policy is what you're interested in, you're probably better off reading the candidate's manifesto. So do you think that debates really matter? And should candidates in Nigeria be compelled by law to participate in them? Let me know in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a like and don't forget to subscribe to First Wave TV. Ring the bell to be notified of the latest edition of Nuts and Bolts.
Preview.